Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back here with the third and penultimate part of my dreams for football, my top dreams for football, or Christmas wish list for football, or whatever you want to call it, especially including Fiorentina, Frosinone, or however you pronounce them, and Italian football generally, and also Celtic, and just my general dreams about football. I hope football fans, as many football fans as possible, will check these videos out, and I'm actually using an iron board to lean on, but if I could show you, probably can't see it, but wrong angle. You have to take my word for it. Sorry, I'm not very good at getting the right camera angle from my laptop, as I use the laptop for the camera. I was thinking it would be great to get, and I know as ever I'll probably mention this before, I'm not very repetitive, but I think it'd be great to get a camera for or some sort of recording device, a really good recording device for Christmas, because I'd love to record the little kittens. Their behaviour really makes me laugh. I wasn't really a huge cat person before, but they are a bundle of joy. Really, they're quite funny. Like they fight each other 1 minute and then they're wrestling, and then they hug each other the next minute. So they're quite funny. And that was a bit off topic, but anyway, as ever, I know I do repeat myself about a million times, but I turned myself into a broken record, to be honest. These are ideas number 21 to 30. So I hope you'll share them with football fans, especially fans of Fiorentina, Frosinone, and other such Italian teams, and Celtic, but football fans generally as well, but especially those in particular. And they could even tell me how to pronounce Frosinone properly. So I'm sure that's probably not how you pronounce it, but here goes. So number 21. Again, I'm going to say it for the last time for this video. Hopefully, I feel like a broken record. I'll make myself into a broken record, but as the saying goes, 21 again. I know I say that pretty much for every video. But I would love to have, I know I mentioned this a while back, but I'd love to have like a campaign, a marketing campaign where they say, hashtag, please make Italian football great again. So trying to be ultra polite as well. But yeah, please, hashtag, please make Italian football great again, which could be a campaign. It could be like on billboards, adverts, and in schools and in parks and all over Italy to try and bring the country together through football, and to look at how to, as I say, make Italian football great again. So look at ways, all sorts of different ideas, fundraising ideas and things like that, having football pitches all over the place, people to practice football curriculum in schools and in parks, and getting Italians to practice as much as possible, and also connecting with the diaspora. I'd love to have on that note, a football tournament where people from across the diaspora come to play football in Italy, but also there could be things which bring diaspora together with ideas as well. Maybe they could have competitions to see who comes up with the best ideas. So the Italian diaspora from Canada, America, Brazil, Argentina, and all around the world would compete with each other, both on and off the pitch, to come up with ideas for football, as well as compete against each other. So seeing whether the Italian diaspora from Brazil, Argentina, Canada, America, or elsewhere, which ones can come out on top. So having their own miniature World Cup with the diaspora, which would have the goal, in my opinion, or certainly for me, and as a person who came up with the idea, as far as I'm aware, I don't know if anyone else has come up with the same idea, but for me, the goal and the dream would be to benefit Italian football. That's pretty much all my ideas. So with football are either to benefit Italian football or Celtic, or both, generally speaking. And on that note, Celtic could have similar ideas, perhaps. I'd love for Italian teams and Celtic to do what Juventus do, which is an Italian team itself, of course. Where they have a miniature World Cup where they connect their fans around the world. But again, this one would be for people from the diaspora. And on that note, also, a point I nearly forgot before I moved on, is something where they could try and get players from the diaspora from places like Brazil, Argentina, Canada, maybe even, but especially Brazil, Argentina, maybe even America, possibly even Canada, and all around the world, even England perhaps, wherever there are skillful players, or maybe even sometimes taking a chance on players and trying to get them to sign up to play for Italy. So once you play for one nation, again, I know I mentioned this a while back, or a week or so ago, probably. But once you play for one particular nation, you can't then go and play for another one. I think you can probably if it's only in friendlies, or if you've only played for them in friendlies. But once you play for one nation, you're stuck with that nation, so to speak. So you can't really, like, so if you're an Italian Brazilian and you play for Italy, you can't then go and play for Brazil later. So I probably shouldn't say stuck with, but for want of a better term, stuck with Italy. So hopefully they get people from the diaspora. It will mean that they will be able to benefit from those players and have a wider pool of players to choose from, and a sort of cheeky idea to take away from those other nations. Hope that didn't sound too harsh, but in a nice way, kind of in a friendly way, or maybe not. But basically anything to benefit within the rules, anything to benefit, or pretty much anything to benefit Italian football and or Celtic. And with Celtic, they could connect with the Irish diaspora and Celtic countries. Again, I know I've talked about that before, and I was going to recap on some other ideas, as I say 21 again, but I'll probably do that in part 4 from ideas number 31 to 40. Anyway, I'm going to move on. I think there were a few other things I thought of, but partly because I've forgotten and partly because I know the videos do go on a bit because I do waffle. So I'm going to move on that note to point number 22, looking at what they can do in the future, expanding upon those ideas and seeing how they can, and football can produce next best players. I think the point I was going to make is about utilizing migrants at that point as well, but having migrants helping to build stadiums, perhaps, as long as they're qualified builders, helping to design stadiums and be involved in the architecture, and just generally being involved in football generally, including through practice and playing for the teams. And I think it's quite an irony that I support Italy just because I think I look Italian and I supported them when I was young, so for nostalgic purposes. But when I first started supporting Italian football, perhaps rather naively, it's because I think and thought back then I look Italian, so that's why I support. And at the same time, I think that it doesn't really matter what skin tone the players have if they help to win the World Cup. So like back in the day, if Balotelli scored a hat-trick, I thought that would be pretty cool. Hopefully that could have improved race relations. Maybe not, I don't know, but I think it should do. People see that black people can contribute to Italian football, or migrants generally, even from Asia. Maybe there could be some good Asian players in the future. So if, say, England or Germany has a prejudice where they don't want to pick Asian players for whatever reason, then hopefully if Italy pick players, whether they're European, whether they're of Italian origin, whether from the diaspora, or whatever, whoever qualifies, whatever skin tone or colour they are, I think as long as they help, I don't think anyone should really mind. So, like if a black player scored a hat-trick, I don't know why anyone would really mind that he's not Italian as they might see, or traditionally Italian or whatever, or of Italian, what's the word, indigenous, not an indigenous person of Italy. Because if people did DNA tests, they'll probably find they're not that indigenous anyway. It's just the skin tone that's different, that's all. But whoever can help to benefit Italian football, ironically, as I say, because I think I only support them because I think I look Italian, but also as I say, what Italian football future, like how it can become more attacking rather than just offensive. I mentioned before how I'd love to see people like Pep Guardiola, Ange Postecoglou, who was at Celtic, funny enough, and maybe Pep Guardiola managing Celtic in the future, and other more attack-minded coaches, managers and coaches, and that kind of thing. Maybe even people like Zidane, who played football in Italy, Ronaldinho, and people like that, Kaká and others, especially the former two, who I think were really entertaining players to watch. Could all those sorts of managers and coaches could bring a more attacking management and style to Italian football. So there could be more flair and it could be better to watch. But also, I think if you look at the most successful teams, that probably most of them are attacking. Like Argentina, even the Italian teams that did well in the past went more attacking. And generally speaking, I don't think defensive teams do it as well, but that's my opinion. But yeah, I think most of the teams that have done well, even if they've had a good defense, they've also had a good attack. I'd love to see Pep Guardiola manage an Italian team, and then even the national team, maybe someone like, and someone like Scaloni, I've got his name right, who managed Argentina to the World Cup and helped them to win the World Cup. Obviously, he probably had, to be honest, better players. If I'm absolutely honest, but I want to try and keep positive if I can. But I was thinking of someone like Scolari from Brazil, but he's probably a bit too old. Ironically, I think both of those have probably got Italian roots, Scaloni and Scolari. I'm pretty sure I read that Scolari's got Italian roots, and more than likely Scaloni has. And I think even Messi has got Italian roots as well, Spanish. So most of them have probably got Portuguese, Italian, and or Spanish roots. So, but since I love Italian football, I would love for them to manage in Italy. And Pep played in Italy. I think Scaloni probably did. Not sure about Scolari, but as I say, utilising migrants to hopefully mutually benefit. Hopefully they'll improve their rights as well. But what I was going to say, I nearly forgot, is like young players being able, especially midfielders and strikers, being able to, without wanting to give too much of my strategy away, being able to make mistakes, and managers giving them opportunities to try different things. And like if they try different tricks and they don't work out, like being told that they could try another mistake rather than telling them off, scolding them, so to speak, and that kind of thing. They could encourage them to try again. So if you tell players off, they might, especially young players, they might be put off from trying different skills in case they get told off or slagged off or whatever, as they say in Scotland. But if young players are given opportunities to try different skills, and if they don't work, try again, I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Number 23, I'd love to see ways to fundraise for good causes, worthy causes. See how football can be used for good, and Italian football and Celtic be involved in that and work with FIFA and UEFA. But if I'm talking about football more generally, going a little bit off just the usual support for Italian football and Celtic, I would love to see how that. I would love to in the future, if I could get organised. I have wanted to for a while, but I would love to have fundraisers with football content creators on YouTube generally. From different clubs to fundraise for, could be for homeless people or disabled people or people with cancer, or fundraising for cancer research and all sorts of different things like that. And that would be pretty cool to do, to support those sorts of things. And as ever, also fundraising for Italian football and or Celtic, preferably both. I'm talking about my Christmas wish list, to have as much money as possible for Italian teams such as Fiorentina, Frosinone, and all the other Italian teams, as well as Celtic, to buy the best possible and bring in the best possible coaching team, management team, and things like that, whatever would benefit Italian football and or Celtic. And I think finances are important. Also, and including that would be building spaces and places for sport, in this case football. And of 24, I'd love for politicians, councillors, schools, parents, teachers, and the wider society generally in Italy to work together and share ideas with each other, encourage each other, and unite over football. And also, I'll say, encourage people to come up with ideas and come forward with ideas and look what they can learn from other countries. Like, for instance, here in England, there's like football in the community, where even like police and the local authority get young people into football. And maybe Italy could do stuff like that, so they unite the country and see how football can be used to cut crime, keep people safer and healthier, and even unite people together and build bridges and things like that. And again, similar, whatever ideas I have for Italian football, I can pretty much have similar ones at least, and in some cases the same for Celtic and vice versa. Number 25, on that note, I'd love to see what Italian football and Celtic have in common. I forgot to say actually in point number 24, a recap of how I'd love for investors that begin with F to invest in Fiorentina and or Frosinone. And I was thinking initially, I thought it'd be cool if Finland and France had their own sovereign wealth fund, if they don't already do so, which many nations have now. And just like Abu Dhabi with the City Group investing in Man City and others, if Finland and France invested in Fiorentina. But due to my patterns, I'm stuck in two minds. I think it'd be cool if France perhaps invested in Frosinone. Although I think for some reason I think Fiorentina, and maybe that's because I had that idea initially, but I think Fiorentina, for some reason I think they have a lot in common with France, like the culture and like the Renaissance and things like that. could be wrong, but I think they seem to have a lot in common. But so I'm stuck in two minds about that. But I mean, it could all be a pipe dream anyway. But if I'm really dreaming, probably Finland to invest in Fiorentina, and France to invest in Frosinone. But again, I'm stuck in two minds over the latter. Number 26, as ever, I would love for Italian teams to give back to countries they colonised, but they could do so in a cheeky way by having football academies and sports clubs in those countries, which could benefit those countries, but also benefit Italian football, which you could say is a benefit they don't quite deserve. But again, being a bit biased, I still hope they'll get that benefit by having more fans and potential players from those nations for their academies and things like that in the future, hopefully possibly playing for teams like Fiorentina, Frosinone and other Italian teams. And with Celtic, I think it'd be cool if they got reparations for, I'm saying that because the number 26 makes me think of reparations, so I would love for them to get reparations for all the bad things that happened to the Irish community, and basically all the discrimination they faced when they came from Ireland, and the fact they were already fleeing famine. And that kind of thing. Number 27, I also think Celtic should be rewarded for all the charitable work they do, and the fact that it was founded as a charity. And also, I would love to reward anyone who benefits Italian football and or Celtic in the fairest possible way. I talk about this mad idea I called 1, 2, or for 1, or share for share, or like for like, which is probably a better way of putting it. Which, in other words, say for instance, if I sat down with politicians, political parties, business people, poets, artists, writers, entrepreneurs, I suppose I class that the same thing as businesses, enterprises or whatnot, spiritual or religious organizations or whatnot, if they wanted me to share information about their business or their political party or their religion, their philosophy or anything else, business cards, flyers, leaflets, websites, Bibles, Qurans, or anything else, if I felt that the deal was as fair as possible, I'm hoping to etch out the fairest possible deal. I'll share that information. So, for instance, for each pound they donate to, I mean, a pound is pretty much nothing really in football terms, but for each one they donated, I could share one. If it was a mosque or a Muslim group or whatever, individual or whatever, I could share Islamic literature or a Quran or whatever, or at least do my best to do so, and say the same for churches and Christian groups with the Bible. If a business wanted me to share information like business cards, flyers, leaflets, or things like even distribute information about their business, share their website, put posts on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and create content basically raising awareness about their organization, I would do the same again for each pound they donated, or for each notebook they helped me to write with my ideas to do with Italian football and or Celtic effectively. In this case, again, I hope to make the fairest deal I can possibly make, and sit down with them and try and agree on what would be the fairest deal. No, 28. I hope Italian football can get rid of, or at least limit, hooliganism, violence, prejudice, including obviously racism or even sexism or things like that as much as possible, and also tackle things like domestic violence and basically condemn violence. And there is a sport, well, calcio normally means football, but I think there is another sport which is called, funny enough, played in Florence, called calcio storico or something like that, where it's really violent. It's a bit like rugby. I don't know a huge amount about it, to be honest, but it seems like fighting with rules, but with rules. But I thought if all possible Italians were encouraged instead to focus just on football and how to help Italian football teams to win, how to be respectful of referees, how to avoid violence and only use violence in self-defense or things like that, yeah, and improve diets and things like that. I think that would be cool. Number 29, I would love to see how my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians could benefit Italian football, and mixed race people generally, and as well as POC, people of colour. Controversial term, I know, but how they can benefit Celtic. And number 30, I know it's a bit biased, my love for Italian football, as it's not necessarily the most ethical, but I hope they'll benefit anyway. I don't want to sound sacrilegious about this, but it reminds me of a biblical teaching which says that God blessed, it was Israel or whatever, not because they were the most righteous, but I can't remember the exact reason, but he gave them an unfair bias. And again, I don't want to be sacrilegious about it, but I suppose I'm like that with Italian football. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, and I hope you enjoyed my waffling a little bit at least, and I am out. Peace and love.